They got their weapon. I got cheated out of my childhood.
I know what that's like.
You do, don't you?
Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here. Yep, it's already time for another Shady Doorags Justice League review. Gotta make up for last year's slack. Not to mention, if the numbers on the Superman video are to be believed, there is a large market right now for appreciation of the Justice League. I can only imagine why. Today we're looking at the episode Epilogue. No, seriously, that's really what it's called. This was Unlimited's second season finale. The title kind of makes me believe it was also supposed to be the series finale, but there's 3 seasons total, so if that was the case, obviously plans changed. The episode starts at a mansion 65 years into the future. It has some serious security, but a mysterious figure covered in shadow uses his skills and gadgets to get past all of it. Eventually, the figure makes his way to an office where he gets caught by the owner.
Terry McGinnis. Or do you prefer being called Batman?
It's the guy from The Thing! And he's had an upgrade? I mean, I get what they were going for. Terry is all grown up and is supposed to be a chiseled, manly man. But I feel like they went a bit too far down the human version of Beast department. Also, take note, Terry, who is the current Batman and just got past an entire security team, somehow got snuck up on by a frail old Amanda Waller. We transition to a black and white scene. There are a few of these that the episode bounces back and forth from, but to make my life easier, I'm going to address them all right now. Also, growing up, I used to think these were memories of what Terry did before coming to see Waller. However, I now believe that these are just made-up scenarios that happen in Terry's head as he's talking. My evidence is that A, some of the things said here I feel like would never be said, and B, Terry and company will later act like these things never happened. The first scene is of Terry talking with his girlfriend of 15 years, Dana Tan. The synopsis here is, what if Terry decided to give up his personal life completely and dedicate himself to being the Batman?
You know why I can't marry you. Every moment we're together, you're risking your life.
Honestly, if you've already been in a serious relationship with her for 15 years, it's difficult for me to see much changing by marrying her.
That's a risk I'm willing to take.
I relish being your wife.
The scene ends with Terry deciding to leave Dana once and for all. The next scene depicts Terry giving up the Batman mantle. It shows the Justice League doing superhero shenanigans, fighting off a team of mostly Batman's rogues called the Inequity Gallery. Batman himself drops in, ending the fight, but immediately after he announces his retirement.
You can't quit. The Justice League needs Batman.
Forget it. Batman is dead.
Yeah, you see how this scene and the previous one conflict with each other? It's as if Terry is weighing his options on which path he's eventually going to choose. Also, yes, I know that Warhawk being here means canonically John eventually left Vixen for Shiera. Finally, there's the big scene. What if Terry confronted Bruce about the grievances he's currently going through, which is him being ticked off at having his life manipulated and feeling like he was forced into the Batman role?
What about people, Bruce? Dick, Barbara, they all loved you, but eventually every single one of them left you.
They quit because when it came down to it, they didn't have the heart for the mission.
Further proof that this is all in Terry's head. The Bruce Wayne I know doesn't wish the Batman lifestyle on anyone. Then again, my memory on both Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond is a bit fuzzy, so I could be wrong there. Within this thought, we learn why Terry is upset and on a crusade in Waller's house.
My dad wasn't a superhero. He never went toe-to-toe with Mr. Freeze, but he was a good man just the same. My point is, all those warm feelings I had for my dad, turns out they were just another lie. My point is, I just found out that Warren McGinnis isn't my father. You are.
Nani? Yep, Terry McGinnis is the biological son of Bruce Wayne. By the way, this episode premiered in 2005, and Damian Wayne's first appearance was in 2006. Well, unless you count Son of the Demon, but I don't. Terry is livid at Bruce, claiming the old man must have had some involvement. Bruce says that whether or not he did, it doesn't matter. What matters is that the world has a Batman.
It's a good thing that you're almost a clone of me. The world does need a Batman, and it always will.
Ooh. Well, it was only a matter of time before this topic was eventually brought up. In fiction, a reoccurring aspect is that there's a special person that helps make things better, and characters will say that the world cannot exist without that person. For example, in Atla, the Avatar is used to keep balance, and without them, the world would fall into chaos. Now, normally, I don't have a problem with this trope. However, there is one genre where it does rub me the wrong way. Superheroes. See, there's a quote from Superman that has stuck with me for years.
In the end, the world didn't really need a Superman, just a brave one.
Those words always make me feel that while superheroes may make their worlds better, they were meant to be seen as help rather than necessity. What humans need most is the will to fight for what's right. So I always feel iffy whenever this type of setting claims that humanity needs a superhero. It's not that there's anything objectively wrong with it. Plus, even if it was, technically Batman is supposed to represent peak humanity. So if anyone were to get a pass, it would be him. Bruce, struggling with his pills, tells Terry that the title of Batman is an honor to have. Terry, however, disagrees.
Being Batman's no honor. It's a curse.
And that is why I desperately need this to be a non-canon moment that only happens in Terry's head. That level of disrespect to Bruce cannot and should not be tolerated. I'm foreshadowing something, by the way. All right, with those scenes out of the way, we can focus back on the main story.
Why don't you put that thing away? Take off your coat and sit a spell.
Did you guys switch places off screen? How did Waller get in the doorway? Terry demands answers from Waller, who is strangely polite about everything. Seems the years have done a lot to change her outlook and attitude.
You want some green tea? I do.
I want answers.
Then you're going to have to humor me. Why is it that superheroes are always so good looking?
It's not worth it. Run, Terry, run!
I don't want any tea. I'm sorry.
A little moment to remind us that even Terry can't escape being a good person at heart, as he was a superhero before, you know, things changed. Waller talks about how her mother passed down the tea set to her, which Terry takes as an invitation to brood about the legacy left on him.
How can anyone be their own man living someone else's dream?
It's been years since I've had enough friends to use the whole set anyway.
I get that the connecting theme here is legacy, but I feel like there's another metaphor that's going over my head completely. There's too much effort on the writing and delivery of Waller's lines to make me think they're just supposed to be ramblings. Terry explains to Waller that in the back of his mind, he always suspected that he was Bruce's biological son, but he was able to figure it out when Bruce needed some new kidneys cloned and his DNA was a perfect match. Wait, if they were cloning kidneys, why didn't they just use Bruce's DNA? Waller's not in a rush to answer Terry's questions. She continues to play the kind old lady.
Look at all this. I don't even know what this one's for. Oh yeah, Alzheimer's.
Always thought that was a great joke. Not haha funny, but enough to make me smile every time I hear it. Waller mentions that Terry didn't bother trying to get answers from Bruce, another sign that those other moments were all in Terry's head. Terry laments that he can't trust Bruce.
Once he settles on a course of action, he won't stop at anything.
If you think that, you don't know him at all.
Oh boy, here we go. This is the story. Waller regales Terry of a time in the past where the Justice League had to fight a version of the Royal Flush Gang. We see more superhero shenanigans happening, and the League are eventually able to take most of the members down. By the way, that's 3 action scenes we've had so far, and none of them felt like they interrupted the story. With most of the gang apprehended, the League only has one member left to worry about: Ace. Waller arrives and informs everyone that Ace's powers have escalated. She no longer just creates hallucinations, but has gone full Scarlet Witch and is able to warp reality. Waller also tells them that Ace is unstable. She's going to have an aneurysm soon, and when that happens, if her powers are still active, everyone within range of them will die. Currently, Ace has warped reality for miles, so there are a lot of people in danger. Her psychic powers need to be turned off before the aneurysm happens.
The only way to stop Ace for certain is to kill her.
I'll do it, Shayera. I'm the only one of us Ace knows.
Great detail there, having Shayera be the first to reach for the device. Of all the people there, and of most people in the League, she's one of the most capable of ending a life and dealing with the consequences. Insert Solomon Grundy reference here. Also, for those of you who only know the Snyder version of these characters, Batman saying he'd kill another person used to be a big deal. So Bruce heads into Ace's castle. The rest of the League try to follow him, but Ace only allows Batman to approach her.
Batman,
Ace.
you were going to try and talk me into fixing what I've changed. I'm dying very soon.
Yes.
Could you stay with me? I'm scared.
Nobody knows the struggle I go through. The burden of responsibility laid upon my shoulders. The intellectuals, they see me as a symbol of masculinity. And honestly, who can blame them? I clearly rival Wolverine in testosterone. But even I have my limits. This is one of the saddest scenes I've ever encountered in a cartoon. You'd have to have broken tear ducts to not cry at it. But I must persevere and keep up the front. I mustn't cry, if not for my sake, then for the world's.
Well, that happened.
You think he showed mercy? Maybe. But more likely he'd somehow already deduced that Ace wasn't really gonna hurt anyone.
Okay, Terry, now you sound like a versus debater. Batman can defeat anyone with prep time, which he totally could, by the way. Terry's still not convinced that Bruce isn't the person who manipulated his life. He gets angrier and angrier, thinking of how Bruce must have planned for him to become Batman from the beginning. Waller, however, corrects him.
Bruce didn't overwrite your DNA with his. I did. Because the world needs a Batman. The thought of a world without Batman was unacceptable. So I decided to make a new one.
Waller informs Terry about how she used nanotech to rewrite Terry's father's reproductive genetics. She had also planned to assassinate his parents to recreate Batman's origins, but her assassin flaked on the job.
People say Batman's obsessive, that he'd do anything to achieve his goals. But he'd never resort to murder.
You hear that, Goyer? What about you, Terrio? Okay, to be fair, I have seen decent stories where Batman, or certain versions of him, are willing to murder, but the writing around him has to be really strong for it to work. Also, it took me way longer than I'm willing to admit to realize that that assassin was the Phantasm. Kid me thought it was just some random Batman fangirl. Despite this reveal, Terry still feels hopeless. He thinks that, regardless of Waller's or anyone's interference, he was destined to be Batman, and he hates that. Waller gives a speech that I really like about the Bible and choosing your own fate.
He gave us free will. We choose our own fate, for good or ill.
Terry has been seeing himself as a clone of Bruce, someone who is forced to live out the Batman legacy. However, Waller helps him understand what he actually is.
You're not Bruce's clone. You're his son. And for all that fierce exterior, I've never met anyone who cared as deeply about his fellow man as Bruce Wayne. Except maybe you.
Okay, no shade on the Bat, but I think Wally and Clark can at least match him in that regard.
You want to have a little better life than the old man's? Take care of the people who love you.
The next scene, Terry calls up Dana, making it clear that he plans on popping the question. After the call, Bruce walks in.
You're in my chair.
Yeah. Guess I am.
Ha, I get it. And I love it.
You could have called. I made you some soup, but it's cold.
Keep going, this is great.
If Batman's not around,
I've got it covered. Better suit up.
you should eat something first.
When I get back.
You're a stubborn piece of work, you know that.
Just like my old man.
Absolute perfection. And that was Epilogue. How could I not love this episode? It shows complete understanding and appreciation of the Batman legacy while also giving a ton of fan service. Though I do know there are people who take issue with the fact that Terry is retconned to be Bruce's son. The complaint is generally that the symbolism for Bruce and Terry was always there, but making it literal causes it to lose subtlety. Honestly, I can't disagree with that observation, but I also don't really care. This episode perfectly demonstrates the point of fictional legacies. In fact, Terry was always the prime example of how to do a fictional legacy. He was never meant to be an exact copy of Bruce Wayne, nor was he meant to upstage him. He was always meant to learn from the original Batman and continue what he stood for, but in his own way. Hey Miles, you might want to take some notes. The show even acknowledges that Bruce Wayne wasn't perfect. He was self-destructive to the point that he eventually wound up alone. But that doesn't tarnish all the good he did. It's just another example that anyone following him can learn from. When you get down to it, Batman may be dark, scary, and beat up people, but he's ultimately someone who takes action to make sure the innocent don't suffer in the same way he did. He dedicated his life to becoming something good for the world. You want to know why people are so ticked off at this?
Are we done with your bad stand-up routine?
Almost. But you always gotta end on your best joke.
It's not because a favorite character was killed off. That happens all the time. Shoot, there's a theory going around that Batman's not even going to stay dead in that story. It's because of the way Batman's killing is executed. It's because Harley is taunting and mocking all he's done as she ends his life. It's because this character, whom many love and cherish, was disrespected while his most iconic voice actor delivered what were perceived to be his final lines. It's because he's Batman. Put some respect on the name. This has been Shady Doorags. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.